Here are two statistics that should get your attention. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, the underemployment rate for recent college grads has held steady at just over 41%. And new grads now face an unemployment rate of 4.8% compared to the national overall rate of 4%. So let's let that sink in for a moment. Nearly half of recent graduates are working in jobs that don't require their degree, and they're more likely to be unemployed than the general population. What's even more troublesome, young college graduates between the ages of 23 and 27 are experiencing unemployment rates that average 4.59% in 2025. That's a stark contrast to the 3.25% rate the same demo experienced in 2019. This increase is more than double that seen among young, non-college educated workers. So here's what's happening. We are in what experts are calling one of the toughest job markets for the post-college crowd in over a decade. Today's unemployment rate for recent grads is the highest since October 2013. And there are some very real structural challenges that are happening. Experts actually point to three major culprits. The first is a growing preference for skills-based hiring from employers. The second is artificial intelligence potentially trimming the amount of entry-level jobs that are out there. And the third is overall softness in the 2025 labor market. Who knows what it'll look like in 2026. But workers in computer occupations who historically have seen really low unemployment have seen unemployment rates jump from an average of 1.98% in 2019 to 3.02% in 2025. The graduates who are landing great opportunities, and there are graduates who are landing great opportunities, they aren't just lucky. They understand three fundamental truths about how hiring actually works and that most people are missing. Number one, over half of jobs are filled through people who are known and trusted. So you should be spending at least half your time networking in addition to submitting online resumes. Some roles, they aren't even posted online. And being a great networker doesn't mean that you call everyone to see if there are jobs available. It actually means building real relationships and adding mutual value. Reciprocity is the key. Number two, your story needs to be tailored to the specific problems that companies are trying to solve, not just broadcasting your general qualifications, your past job duties. Your titles and your degrees do not speak for themselves. So think of people who graduated with your same degree. Does that degree guarantee that everyone has the same level of skill, experience, and expertise? Probably not. Hiring managers want to know how you'll address the specific challenges and needs they have and how you'll do better than the other candidates. Number three, following up and staying top of mind is what separates memorable candidates from the hundreds who just disappear. This isn't about sending a thank you after networking or interviewing. It's actually about checking in and sharing relevant insights regularly. So today, we're going to break down exactly how to position yourself strategically, tell your story in a way that creates genuine connection, and build the kind of network that opens doors to opportunities you'd never see on job boards. Because if you're part of that 41% underemployment statistic, or if you want to make sure you never become part of it, keep watching. Let's dive in. Strategic targeting. The first insight, stop applying to every job under the sun with the same general resume. Start targeting the ones that actually fit your experience and articulate specific value. So I see grads sending out 50, 100, 200 applications and wondering why they're not hearing back from anyone. But think about this from a hiring manager's perspective. They're getting flooded with applications in this really tough market, and they need ways to differentiate candidates. They need to tell people apart. They're not just looking for someone who wants a job, because there are a lot of those. They're looking for someone who wants this job. Someone who understands that what they're trying to accomplish and can help them get there. When you apply to everything, your application reads like a generic template in a sea of desperate candidates. When you target strategically, your application reads like a solution to their specific problem, a value proposition. So here's how you target effectively in this challenging market. Research the company's current challenges. Look at their recent news, their job postings, their leadership's LinkedIn posts. What are they trying to achieve? What obstacles are they currently facing? Map your experience to their needs. Don't just list what you've done. Connect what you've done to what they need done. If they're expanding internationally and you've studied abroad, that's not just a fun fact, it's a relevant experience. Focus on problems you can solve, not credentials you've earned. Instead of leading with, I have a degree in marketing, lead with, I've helped 3 different organizations increase their social media engagement by developing content strategies that actually connect with their target audience. See the difference? Be consistent. Job searching is like a marketing exercise for yourself. Make sure these things are reflected on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your go-to elevator speech, and your interview talking points. Consistency is key. Side note, if you don't have all 4 of those things ready, you should. But here's a practical filter. Before you apply to any job, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, can I articulate why this specific role excites me? Not just it's a good opportunity, but what specifically about their mission, their challenges, their growth trajectory connects with what you want to do? Can I point to concrete examples of how I've solved similar problems? Even if it was in school, internships, volunteer work, or personal projects, the context matters less than the capability. Can I add immediate value while I'm learning the role? What can you contribute from day 1, even as you're growing into the position? If you can't answer those 3 questions clearly and specifically, you're not ready to apply yet. Do more research or look at a role that is a better fit for you. Because 20 targeted, well-researched applications will get you more interviews than 20 generic ones. And the interviews you get will be for roles where you can actually succeed. The art of storytelling. The second insight, master the art of storytelling your experience in a way that leads directly to the job you're applying for. So this isn't about making things up. This is about being intentional in how you frame real experiences to highlight the value you can add. Most graduates tell their story chronologically. I studied this, and then I interned there, and then I did this project. But hiring managers don't think chronologically. They think in terms of problems and solutions. And in today's market, they're particularly focused on immediate value. So with hiring budgets tight and companies being more selective, they want to know you can contribute from day 1. So instead of starting with what you studied, start with what problems you've solved. Instead of listing your experiences, tell the story of your impact. That way you're not just learning, because you will be learning on the job, but you're also creating that value from the very start. So let me give you a framework I call problem, solution, value. Problem. What challenge were you addressing? This could be in a class project, an internship, volunteer work, even a personal situation. Be specific about the stakes and the context. Solution. What did you do? Not just what were you assigned to do, but how did you approach it? What did you prioritize? And what decisions did you make? Value. What was the result? Quantify it whenever possible. Describe the broader impact. How did it help people? What did it make possible? For example, instead of saying, I was a social media intern at XYZ nonprofit, tell a story instead. XYZ nonprofit was struggling to engage younger donors. Their average donor age was 55 and rising. I analyzed social media presence and realized they were using language and imagery that resonated with their current donors, but wasn't speaking to the values and communication style of millennials and Gen Z. So I developed a content strategy that maintained their mission authenticity while adapting their voice for digital natives. Over 6 months, we increased engagement from the 25 to 35 demographic by 300% and saw a 40% increase in new donors from that age group. That's not just listing an internship. That's demonstrating strategic thinking, data analysis, audience understanding, and results orientation. This is the key to adapt this story based on what each employer needs. So if you're applying to a marketing role, emphasize the strategic thinking and audience analysis. If you're applying to a nonprofit, emphasize the mission alignment and community building. If you're applying to a startup, emphasize the resourcefulness and measurable impact you brought. See, same story, different emphasis. You're not changing the facts. You're highlighting the aspects that are most relevant to their specific challenges. And here's a really important tip. Every story you tell should answer the implicit question every hiring manager has. What can this person do for us that we can't already do ourselves? Don't just prove you're qualified, prove you're valuable. And this applies to everything. Your cover letter, your interview answers, your portfolio projects, your networking conversations. Imagine that every point of contact they make with you and your profile is part of the interview. You're not just sharing your background. You're demonstrating your thinking, your problem-solving approach, and your potential contribution. You're building your brand. Again, they're not hiring your degree. They're hiring your ability to help them achieve their goals. So let's talk about the network effect. The third insight is that an incredible number of jobs are filled through contacts, people who are known and trusted entities, which means you should be spending at least half your job search time building relationships, not just sending applications everywhere. What most people don't realize is the best opportunities never make it to the job boards. By the time a role is posted publicly, hiring managers have already exhausted their internal networks or maybe have already identified someone they want to hire. And in this brutal job market, that's happening even more. So when companies are being ultra selective and can choose from hundreds of applicants, they're relying heavily on referrals to reduce their risk of a bad hire. They've asked their current employees, do you know anyone who might be good for this? They've reached out to former colleagues. They've posted in industry groups and professional communities. Research shows that 70 to 80% of jobs are never publicly advertised. So if you're only looking at public job postings, you're seeing what's left over after all the insider hiring has already happened. So the good news is that you can become an insider, not through nepotism or unfair advantages, but by building genuine professional relationships and being really clear about what you're looking for. This is not about using people. This is about sharing your story, voicing your interests, and being helpful to others who are building their careers too. Everybody's looking. Here's how you do this strategically. Identify people who work in roles or companies that you're interested in, not just hiring managers, anyone who can give you insight into what it's really like to work there. So reach out with genuine curiosity, not immediate asks. I'm really interested in learning more about product management at tech companies. Would you be willing to share 15 minutes about what you've learned in your career? That's much better than, do you know any job openings? Share your story and voice what you're looking for. I'm passionate about using data to solve customer experience problems. That gives people something concrete to connect you with. Follow up thoughtfully and offer value. Like send articles they might find interesting, make introductions that could help them. Stay on their radar as someone who adds value to their network. So here's a practical breakdown. If you're currently spending 80% of your time applying online and only 20% of your time networking, flip that ratio, or at least do it half and half. Spend 50% of your time building relationships and having conversations. Spend 25% researching companies and preparing targeted applications. Spend another 25% actually applying. Because when someone in your network hears about an opportunity that fits what you're looking for, you don't have to compete against 200 random applicants. You're the person they already know, trust, and want to help succeed. They think of you first, and they'll come to you with the opportunity. And this is not unfair. This is just how professional relationships have always worked. You just need to be intentional about building them. So how do you follow up and add value? This is where most people either do nothing or do something generic that actually hurts their chances. The key to effective follow-up is always adding value, never just asking for updates. After an interview, send a resource that relates to something you discussed. I thought about our conversation about customer retention strategies, and here's an article about how Spotify approaches this challenge that you might find interesting. After a networking conversation, make an introduction to share something helpful. I connected with someone yesterday who's working on a similar challenge to what you mentioned. Would you like me to introduce you? And when following up on an application, share something that demonstrates continued interest and adds to the conversation. I saw that your company just announced the partnership with XYZ company. Having worked on similar integration projects, I have some thoughts about implementation and strategies I'd love to discuss. Here's the pattern. Follow up with insight, not just interest. Show that you're thinking about their challenges and staying engaged with their business. Yes, this is one of the most challenging job markets for recent graduates in over a decade. But you can approach it differently. You can be strategic. You can be the candidate who shows up with specific understanding of their challenges and clear examples of how you can help them. If you want more insights on building authentic professional relationships and communicating your value effectively, follow me for more episodes. And tell me in the comments, what's one strategy from today that you're going to implement this week? Your specific strategy might help someone else watching this. The right opportunity is out there. And now you know how to position yourself to find it and seize it.